and welcome. I'm Cassidy Cash, and you're watching Did Shakespeare. Today, we are diving into the 16th century, specifically the life of William Shakespeare, by taking a look at something Shakespeare dealt with his entire life. And that's the idea of the bona fide, sanctioned by the crown, pillaging, plundering, and getting paid to do it, pirates. By asking, did Shakespeare deal with pirates? Welcome to That Shakespeare Life Saturdays here on YouTube. I'm Cassidy Cash, and this is Did Shakespeare. When it comes to pirates in Elizabethan England, they are truly just as fascinating as what you see in the big Hollywood blockbusters. And they're not only that, but for Elizabethan England, pirates were this integral part of their entire naval strategy of the country of England. Under Queen Elizabeth I, there were what was known as lawful pirates. Now, we think of pirates as illegal, people who go and do things that they shouldn't do. And definitely the film Pirates of the Caribbean plays on that theory with the film version of pirates there. But under Elizabeth I and during the life of William Shakespeare, being a pirate was actually a profession, a well-known profession. And there were several men who became knighted under the Queen for their role as what was called a privateer. They were given a letter of marque from the government, and that basically gave them permission to rob, steal, pillage, and take treasure from the ships that were coming back to Europe from the New World. Known as the Golden Age of pirates, the Elizabethan era saw many of the explorers from England seek out new lands for the crown, and they were labeled as pirates by the enemies who suffered at their hands. Technically, they were explorers for England, and exploration was a big deal for Queen Elizabeth I, and it would continue to be a big deal under James I. But these activities of pillaging, plundering, sinking, and attacking ships on their way to and from these expeditions caused a fine line to be drawn between hero and villain, determined mainly by whether or not you were their friend. As the film says, pirates don't really follow rules, they're just guidelines anyway. Some of England's most famous pirates included Sir Francis Drake, Sir Walter Raleigh, Sir Martin Frobisher, Sir Richard Hawkins, Sir Humphrey Gilbert, Sir Richard Greenville, and Sir John Hawkins. So why were these men pillaging for England? Well, that was mainly due to the fact that England was late to the game when it came to forming colonies in the New World. It wouldn't be until the founding of Jamestown under James I, just after the death of Queen Elizabeth I, that England established what was known as its first real colony in the New World. There was the Roanoke colony, known as the Lost Roanoke colony, that has now been found, and you can check out the latest episode of That Shakespeare Life, episode 124, to hear about how they found the Lost Roanoke colony. But that one, as well as a few others, were going on in the 1580s and 1590s for England, but many historians record that there were no official colonies for England under Elizabeth I. Now, whether or not you want to count Roanoke or the other journeys that happened in the late 16th century as legitimate English colonies or not, the fact still remains that England's land conquests internationally paled in comparison to what was happening with Spain and the Portuguese, who had already been generating revenue in this way from new settlements long before England decided to join the game. In response to their being behind the Spanish and the Portuguese in this way, England decided to steal the gold and treasures that Spain and Portugal were getting from these new colonies. So as the Spanish ships made their way back to Europe from the new colonies, England would rob them and steal their stuff. And this was England's generating revenue from colonization, was to steal it from other people. As you can imagine, Spain did not really like this. They disliked it so much that it eventually led to the Anglo-Spanish War that took place from 1585 to 1604. The eruption of this war with Spain was, interestingly, one of the main reasons the Roanoke colony didn't get the supplies they needed. It was also one of the reasons Jamestown was suffering from a lack of supplies, because they were busy with the war, so they couldn't get supplies back to Roanoke. These same English pirates who were stealing from the Spanish as lawful pirates were the same gang of men from England that formed the primary naval assault that famously defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588. Philip of Spain decided he had had enough of the pirates and wanted them to stop stealing their gold, took on England, and failed. It was an enormous victory for England. the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, a giant feather for the cap of Queen Elizabeth I. In addition to English pirates, there were also Dutch pirates, just in case you think the English were alone in this approach to generating revenue. The Protestant and Catholic dynamic of Europe at the time played a huge role in privateering. Now, Spain was Catholic and England was Protestant, as were the Netherlands. And so when the Dutch decided to get into privateering, England supported them. Protestant England under Queen Elizabeth supported the efforts of the Dutch pirates. As such, the Dutch found safe harbor in all of England's ports. This entire group of official lawful pirates in England were known collectively as the Sea Dogs. They were officially established in 1560, just 4 years before Shakespeare was born, and they would remain in operation through to 1604 in an official capacity. Now that marks the conclusion of the Anglo-Spanish War, and the Sea Dogs, as part of making peace with Spain, were ordered to stop pillaging Spanish ships, right? So they moved to the Barbary Coast in Africa, eventually developing into the Caribbean pirates and the Anglo-Turkish piracy that took place there. While glamorous and powerful in their heyday, it would be his involvement in piracy and being a member of these Sea Dogs that ultimately led to the death of one of England's most famous pirates, Sir Walter Raleigh. During one expedition for England, after the peace treaty was made with Spain, Sir Walter Raleigh's subordinate looted a Spanish outpost. Now, this was a huge no-no because they had established peace under the terms of England's going to stop pillaging us, right? And so Spain was very, very sensitive to this. And so when Sir Walter Raleigh's subordinate looted the Spanish outpost, it was a huge violation of the Spanish peace treaty. And Spain got very, very mad, and England had to respond accordingly. Now, Queen Elizabeth favored Raleigh, and so he enjoyed a little bit of imprisonment, but not death, under her reign. But King James would ultimately order the execution of Sir Walter Raleigh in 1618 in a direct effort to appease the Spanish government and their anger over this looting incident. From his birth until his death, William Shakespeare knew about and had pirates operating in official capacity for England for his entire lifetime, which may explain why the word pirate shows up more than 20 times in the words of William Shakespeare, claiming they're everything from warlike pirates in Hamlet to sanctimonious pirates in Measure for Measure. It seems Shakespeare's impression of pirates matches our historical record of this blend between hero and villain, good versus bad, and there being really a fine line between whether or not you could trust a pirate. That's it for this week. I'm Cassidy Cash, and I hope you learned something new about the Bard. Find even more episodes about William Shakespeare, including bonus documentaries, animated plays, episodes that we don't share anywhere else, all of the bonus content about the history of William Shakespeare in our brand new digital streaming app. You can find out about the app at cassidycash.com/experience, and I hope you'll hit like and subscribe below this video to join us every Saturday for even more Shakespeare. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.